Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Princess Interrupted. I'm your host, Allison Ziegler, creator and founder of Allison Ziggy, and today we're going to be diving into a topic that is so crucial to master when you're on the process of up-leveling your life. It's navigating uncertainty. Before we dive in, I want to make you aware of a few very special offers that I have available for you for coaching going into this season of fall. There are only 3 months between now and the end of 2024. If there's one thing I know about working with spirituality and the universe, it's that everything really does unfold in the 11th hour. If you're feeling this push where you're just like, you know what, I'm not quite where I want to be and I'm ready for things to change, I've created 3 separate ways for us to work together. My personal favorite, because I know this is where you're going to get the ultimate form of transformation. This is my 3-month intensive coaching package. And in honor of the season of fall, I've decided to gift a free month of coaching should you choose to pay in full for the 3-month commitment. In this package, you're going to have daily access to me via messaging, via WhatsApp. You'll also have breathwork sessions that will be completed one-on-one. You'll get full access to my programs and anything launched during our time working together. And we will get you to a place where you just feel unstoppable going into this new year. Uncertainty and change doesn't have anything on you. I will include a link in the show notes if you're interested in pursuing any of these options, but it would be truly an honor to help you make this the most transformational season of your life. And lastly, fall 2024 planners are available now for purchase. And I am so incredibly proud of the artwork. It's like a coaching session in a notebook. I've also decided to have a fall manifestation party. So that's going to be the first Sunday in October on October 6th. If you purchase the planner, you'll be invited to that as well. And with that, let's dive into this topic of navigating uncertainty when you're in the process of up-leveling your life. This is something that I have faced so many times on my own personal journey. I'm just coming out of a period of tremendous uncertainty when I was figuring out where to move, what to do with my stuff. And when making decisions and facing uncertainty, it's one thing to intellectually understand and know that it's not the end of the world, it's not life or death, there's no mistakes, but it can feel so uncomfortable in your body. Uncertainty is such a heavy energy and it has a way of consuming. Even when your intentions are pure, this can be when evaluating taking a new job. This can be whenever you're faced with a decision and you choose what feels intuitively right for you, but then you're stuck asking like, oh my gosh, why didn't I go for that? Because maybe you made a decision that was based on intuition and not logic. And so in the aftermath, even though you know you're moving in the direction that you've always desired and you're becoming the version of yourself that you've been manifesting and you're taking the active steps, that uncertainty can just manifest in so many ways. This can be a tightness in your chest. It can be racing thoughts when you wake up in the middle of the night. Our subconscious defenses are very low when we're sleeping, which is why you might find your thoughts are most susceptible to negativity when you're sleeping. It's when your guard's down and you can't consciously distract yourself. You might find that sleeping is when these things come up for you. I often describe discomfort as the price of growth, but with uncertainty, it's getting comfortable being uncomfortable. That's a quote from my mentor, Kathrin Zenkina. That was an affirmation that she created. I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. Along your journey, you might find yourself asking questions like, well, why am I even pursuing this path if it's just making me uncomfortable? It's not logic. As humans, we're habitual creatures who love familiarity. And your ego, we've talked about this before, your ego's job is to keep you safe. And your ego does a great job of keeping you physically safe. Your ego helps you look both ways before you cross the street. It helps you perceive threats in your environment. But where this comes into a play where it can help prohibit and limit your growth is when your ego perceives your action steps towards growth as a threat, because it is a threat to your ego. It's a threat to the way that you're perceived by the world. It's a threat to the way that you're perceived by yourself. This is why identity work is so important. But as you're navigating this uncertainty, it can feel like life or death. And there's been many times in my past, I talk about this all the time with my career and leaving corporate. I was presented with a new job when I moved to New York, and intuitively, I made the decision to take it. And I then decided I wanted to leave 2 months later. And I was presented with multiple options of which job to take. There didn't appear to be a right path because I intuitively knew I ultimately wanted to be a business owner. So it was kind of like asking my intuition, what's the best option that's not what I actually want to be doing? Okay, we know I want to do my business, but I need a job. So, like, what's the best possible options out of these jobs that I can take? I felt very lost in terms of listening to my intuition. And at the end of the day, I ended up making a decision where it came through of I want to take this job. In the process, the discomfort and the uncertainty, it felt so painful because it felt like such a big decision. It felt like this one decision would impact the next 5 years of my life. It felt like if I picked the wrong job, I would be stuck and I would never be able to do what I actually wanted to do with my career and my life. Your ego will try to keep you safe when you're on the verge of becoming a new version of yourself. And so sometimes this will result in chaos. This will result in distractions. It's never a sign to give up unless you don't want to be doing it anymore. The only time that it's a sign to give up is when it no longer feels aligned for you. With navigating uncertainty, I found a study, and I'll link the article in the show notes, where students at the University College of London were playing a game. They were looking for snakes under rocks. And anytime that you found a snake, you were issued a shock. And they found that the students were more stressed out whenever they didn't know what to expect than they were actually getting the negative shocks. This ultimately led to the outcome that people consider uncertainty to be more painful than predicting a negative outcome. This is why people can stay in toxic situations or toxic jobs. This is why people can be in a relationship where they fight all the time, but it's easier to just let things continue as they are than the thought of making changes and moving and starting over with someone new or being on your own when that's not the path that you saw for yourself. The key to manifestation is learning to see uncertainty as an opportunity as opposed to a challenge. In order to do this, you need to let go of the idea that your past will be what you're able to use to create your future. We hear all the time these limiting beliefs in terms of like apple doesn't fall far from the tree, like you're never gonna get farther than your parents got, or history repeats itself. And while you may face similar challenges to those of which your parents faced, and while you're around people, it can be similar to adopt their beliefs, but you have free will and you have the power to change the circumstances of your life if they're not what you're ultimately desiring. Uncertainty is how you're going to get there. Uncertainty, while it may feel distressing in the body, is actually the path that you're looking to take. If you were just seeking a normal life, you probably wouldn't be listening to this podcast. I'd go as far as to venture there's something in your life you're seeking and you're reaching for that you haven't yet experienced, and you don't know how to get there. You don't know how to get there because you've never done it before. And your body will try to subconsciously fill in the gaps of the unknown based on your past circumstances, but your past circumstances are not getting you to the destination that you're ultimately seeking. And so that line of thinking is ultimately not supportive of where you want to go, but it feels like a threat to your physical body. So, how do you overcome this? This is where the techniques that I share with you in terms of breath work, meditation, journaling all come into play because they help to soothe your nervous system. When your nervous system is regulated, you're less likely to take actions in response to the discomfort of the uncertainty. And actions resulting from uncertainty can look like frantically calling someone when you get stressed out. Actions based on the uncertainty can look like you get stressed about money and immediately start panic applying to jobs, or you're scared that you're going to die alone and you start manically scrolling on the apps and just messaging people back even though you're not even really interested in them, and it creates this spiral and it creates affirmation that yeah, people are hard to find. Look at all these losers on Hinge, like I'm not finding what I'm looking for. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy when you respond to the negative emotions associated with the discomfort. I've been learning a lot about feng shui. I've been helping my mom redo her house, and we've been doing a lot of clearing and a lot of intentional placement of items. They say that your space reflects your mind. And one of the ways that I really love to regain control during uncertainty, and if you've been in any of my programs, specifically like the Spring Cleanse Challenge, your cleaning your environment is a way to regain control. I also have a guide that's in the principal library. I think it's like Zen in 10, the Zen in 10 guide. And one of the first things is like clean your desk because it makes you feel in control. It's shifting your energy and focus in these uncertain situations to what is within your control. Whenever I'm facing tremendous uncertainty, like this past winter, it was a really tough time for me emotionally and mentally after leaving my corporate job. I was really scared about what came next. And I was really seeking answers around, is this going to work? Like, should I be looking for a job? What do I need to do in this situation? And I anchored into peace by going to the gym every day. I anchored into peace by really focusing on cleaning my space. With feng shui, I'm looking to learn more about this to help my clients incorporate this into their lives as well. This quote's about feng shui, but it really can be replaced with just mindset work. Feng shui brings the unconscious in our environments back into consciousness. That brings the beliefs and feelings back into consciousness. Then we have choice and can create our universe consciously. That's all that any of this is it's bringing into your awareness the things that you're able to change. Your limiting beliefs are likely what are keeping you stuck in these patterns that you keep creating and keep repeating. As you have the courage to face these, you're going to experience discomfort because you don't know in your body what the alternative feels like. If you've only had unhealthy relationships, you don't know what it actually feels like to be in a healthy relationship in your body. You can conjure up an image of it, and that's where manifestation comes into play, and you can start to bring those feelings into your body now. That's why manifestation is so important as well. It is soothing to the nervous system to start thinking about, okay, this outcome scares me because it's unknown. That is part of what is keeping it out of the reach of my current reality. That is why it is so important to do this work. With financial uncertainty, that is such a trigger for so many people. And I shared my story. I listed in a blog post, my drug of choice whenever I felt out of control was just panic applying to jobs I didn't want. That was a response to financial insecurity and feeling scared of like, am I going to be able to do the things that I say I want to do? Am I actually going to be able to accomplish the things that are important to me? I was looking through pictures yesterday from 2024, and I wanted to kind of make a collage of my favorite moments from this last year. And winter was so hard, I made the decision to turn down a job. So as much as I was panic applying to jobs, I was offered a job. And in the interview, something had happened that really mirrored the reason I left my old company. And I made the decision not to take the job. I was kind of like, wow, I was just handed a lifeboat. I turned it down. And if I'm really going to go down this path, I know that I can't go down it alone. And I hired a coach and I started to address the limiting beliefs that were underlying. It didn't necessarily make sense to hire a life coach versus a business coach at that point because I really did need the tactical support as well. But I had a knowingness that I needed to get myself on track before I could even think about working on the business. I knew that Allison Ziggy is an extension of Allison Ziegler, and that in order to get to where I was looking to go, I needed to address the limiting beliefs within me. And I worked with that coach for 4 months, and I shifted so much from being anxiously attached to the meetings with her because it felt like my lifeline and messaging her every day and having her help me with things to becoming solid in who I was. And a lot of the work we did together was just releasing these subconscious beliefs, and that support really bridged me and I took that step, hiring a coach in faith. That is really important to make the distinction. Where are you taking steps from faith and where are you taking steps out of fear? I don't think there's anything safer than faith. There are no guarantees in life. Ultimately, life isn't meant to be predicted, it's meant to be lived. And the only sure bet that you have is trusting your intuition and trusting that you're gaining the experiences that your soul came here and chose to have. And leaning into this and leaning into what's happening as an opportunity and something that's happening for your growth, and not immediately perceiving change as a threat to your existence, but perceiving it as an opportunity for things to rearrange and alchemize and to support you even more on this next level of growth and this next level of where you're headed. I stayed at my job in New York longer than I wanted to, much longer than I was happier for. I was really unhappy from like April through September. I didn't end up leaving until September after I stood up to my boss and I couldn't take it anymore. If you don't make the decisions, the universe will make them for you. Getting fired was the universe pushing me on the path that I didn't have the courage to take on my own. If you're sitting on the fence of what you want to do, there's going to come a point where you're going to get pushed. And you get to decide how these lessons are delivered to you. You get to decide if they're gentle. You get to decide if they're harsh. You get to decide how you want to learn the lesson. Choosing yourself and following your intuition is such a more empowered way to go about this. While I knew there wasn't any way other than the way that things happened that I could have gone about it, looking back, if I would have had courage sooner, I could have taken different action steps. That's been a huge game changer for me in terms of uncertainty, is not demonizing the path that you don't take. Instead of saying like, thank God I didn't do this, otherwise this negative thing would have happened. That puts too much weight on a decision. I like to believe that there's many different timelines with positive outcomes, but I get to choose to be on the highest possible timeline with the highest possible outcome. So realizing that there are no right or wrong decisions, but you get to make a decision and you get to be the one who makes it right. That's where your power comes in navigating uncertainty, is sticking to your guns and trusting yourself and what you feel led to do. When you trust yourself, it releases this need to have it all figured out, to have things be perfect. I want to leave you with a quote. The ultimate form of preparation is not planning for a specific scenario, but a mindset that can handle uncertainty, where you can start to see the unfolding of uncertain situations as an opportunity for growth and an opportunity to step into the version of yourself that you're truly capable of being. You wouldn't have the opportunity if you weren't ready for the challenge. I'll include all of the resources and links in the show notes. If you're looking to make this your season, I would absolutely love to coach you. I'll include all those links in the show notes. Make sure you're following along on Instagram for the latest at Allison Ziggy. And I love you so much. And I can't wait to see you next week for Princess Interrupted.